People want to know, what does a winning proposal look like? What does it take to win something in staffing? And to what you just said, yeah, it wasn't perfect. Nobody here is perfect. Like, you still ended up victorious.
Yep. So this one wasn't staffing. This one was just service-based. It's selling HR services.
Okay.
Which, is really just the same thing. And so then again, since it's purchase order, like each order that I would get from them would be different. So I figured I'd start with the proposal and how I work through it really quick, just to kind of walk people through. A lot of it comes from Kizzy Park's mentality, right? Of I first read it end to end, right? And then the biggest thing I do is I go through and I highlight out, like, what is the end result for me, right? So in this case, they made it really easy, right? Pick a minimum of 3 of these, and then down at the bottom, they say a maximum of 5. So I highlighted everything that I feel like I could have offered, right? And then I ended up narrowing it down to just 5 when I did my proposal. Then this is what I was just saying, that they included this thing that says all proposals at a minimum should address the following. Now, address and include this chart, I guess, is kind of subjective. I did not include this chart, but I did address in more than 250 words, which is what I'll show everybody. But usually when they put things in a different color, it means like pay extra attention to it. So these are the kind of things that like I cut and paste. And again, I have Super Adobe or whatever you want to call it, right? But I could cut and paste and edit, and I can do all those things directly in Adobe. So I cut all of this out and then I put it over into ChatGPT. And I'll say, here are the minimum things that this proposal must include. Just wait, right? And then ChatGPT will just pull that data. And so then since I call it like, these are the minimum things to address, then later when I'm using ChatGPT to build what the proposal order will be, I'll say like, please pull in from the scope of work, from the minimum requirements. And so then it knows all the data that I already loaded into it. It knows what I'm asking it to pull. So that kind of is helpful for later too, is as you pull big chunks of data like this over, to give it a name in ChatGPT, like here is the minimum address or whatever you want to call it, right? Then I go down and I highlight really anything that applies. So like this had a pre-proposal conference, which
Quick question. Did you attend it? I think you're answering that already, but did you attend the pre-proposal conference?
So this one, I did attend. So it was virtual and it was easy. Every pre-proposal conference, I'll say, is also very different. And so I don't remember this one exactly, but I think this is the one where like they literally just read verbatim from the proposal. And then they said you have to submit all your questions. So I printed out here, like I have here too. This is the result of it. Is everybody had to submit their questions. They didn't take any questions live.
Oh.
So it was
Wow.
It was, I think this one, I'm pretty sure that was this one. But they start to all run together. So in the last year, I've bid 73 proposals. Just put that number out there. What's coming through. They start to run together. But anyway, then I'll take things like this, the instructions, some, whatever it is, and I'll copy this over again into ChatGPT, and I'll say, just hold on to this for later. And so I'll copy all of this. Now, I do have this small business designation in Virginia. So that's always a plus point when you have that. And then a lot of places put this about proprietary information. This one didn't have pricing, so I didn't pull anything out because nothing's really proprietary. They only asked for like projects that were completed. Oral presentation, I wasn't asked. I copy always this into ChatGPT of how it's going to be weighted. And I tell ChatGPT to just hold that too. And then it says here, this is going to go to multiple offers. And so it's just what it is, right?
And also, just to go back to it, it says selection shall be made of 2 or more, which is encouraging because that means you have a higher likelihood of actually winning.
Right. And so then also it makes it nice because like when you're quoting past performance, sometimes you can just wordsmith to say that like, I have an active award with the state of Virginia, right? Like maybe I haven't completed the work for them yet, but I have an active contract with them, right? So a lot of times that'll help. That kind of helps a little bit too when you're starting out on the newer end of things. These are just all things that I've acquired throughout the last year. So share whatever I can. And then they, everybody has all these things, their insurance requirements, you have to have all these different policies in place. So this is all like the whole second half of it. Almost everybody is not really negotiable on the payment terms. What I have found. If pretty much you have to be okay with net 30 So that's just what I found anyway. But I did a lot of stuff in Virginia and Florida. So for those two, I haven't yet found. And so the rest of this is just kind of, all the whatevers, right? So then this is the addendum that came out, right? So they changed when the due date was, and then they went through all of the different questions. I feel like a lot of the questions that people submitted were already answered in the proposal. So again, reading the proposal, or the solicitation from beginning to end, I think is super important, and then pulling out to be able to highlight things. So I wish my ChatGPT would have saved, I could have pulled that up to show everybody, but I can't. So I show the final product. So I'll show everybody kind of what my proposal looks like, right? So this is my cover letter. It's super basic, right? But I have here who it's for. I have here the name of the contract and then the number. This is all me and my contact information. And this is all the fancy stuff that I have, right? So I highlighted because there was a designation for the set aside for small women and minority businesses, which is what Virginia calls SWAM. So I highlighted that there for them to be able to see, but I have my cage code, all my NAICS codes. I'm SBA certified woman-owned business. And then this was handed to me, this verbiage here that just says hey, this is intended for you and don't give it to anybody outside. So it's not saying it's proprietary. It's just saying don't share it with, anybody else. Even though if you win, it becomes public record anyway in Virginia. So that's what it is.
Another question for you.
Yeah.
Do they at all exchange the proposals? Once we bid on an RFP in the city of Clearwater, Florida, and we all got copies of each other's PDFs, do they do that? Or have you found?
I didn't for this one. And so this is for, the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicle. It's pretty big, right? It's a pretty big agency. But they didn't distribute everybody's out. I have 2 other purchase orders, and I didn't receive copies of any of those either. One of them is in Texas, and one of them's in Florida. And I didn't receive for either of those. I never got copies of anybody else's. I'm sure you could FOIA it and request it if you wanted it to, but I didn't. So
I was just wondering. I love this.
Yeah. So anyway, then the small things, always make sure that you number your pages, right? That's something that's super easy to forget. And then the table of contents, I just use the one that is built in Word. I don't do anything fancy. There is nothing super extravagant about it, right? It just, I use the headings in Word, and then it just auto generates my table of contents for me because it's just easier that way. Then I'd also make sure this one didn't have a word page count, but that's something that a lot of them do. So it said, the only thing it did have a word count on was saying that my intro area can't exceed 5 pages. So I just made sure that one doesn't exceed 5 pages, but everything else just kind of fit with what it is. So then I had my transmittal letter is what it said. It said that it required a signature. Again, this is all done in PDF, right? So this is my PDF signature. I created a Word and then I make it a PDF and then I put all my signatures in that I need to. So this is just me saying that I can do it, right? Here's a cover letter, which goes through a little bit about me and the company and whatever. Here's our executive summary that, again, talks very specifically about the company and how I operate. And this, a lot, I align to what they talked about the expectation was in the solicitation, right? So when they say, that they quality assurance was something that they kept talking about in the proposal. So it's something that I included. I'll see if I can find it. But it talks about that. Oh, you have to be able to respond. They wanted you specifically to call out how quickly you can respond. If they send you a purchase order, how quickly you'll get back to them. And then this in the contract, though, they told me that I have, I put 2 to 4 business days, but when they send me the contract to sign, the contract says that I have 48 hours.
Oh, wow.
I guess in the end, it didn't matter what you put in, right? But that was one of the pieces. It wasn't really negotiated. It just was, I put that. And then when they sent it to me, it was 48 hours. So, but here's kind of the things where I go into keeping things confidential was big to them and quality assurance. So I just put little blips in there to kind of just reinforce, I guess, as a company, what I believe in keeping things data secure and whatever. And then I really just kind of walk through. So what I tell ChatGPT to do after I load everything in is I ask it to please build me an outline. I don't have ChatGPT necessarily type everything for me, but when you tell it to build you an outline and then you paste it into Word, it already puts everything as a heading for the sections. So again, it makes the table of contents really easy to build. And then it already has it sectioned out. And a lot of times ChatGPT will say things like, this is a great time to talk about what your business can offer to DMV, whatever, blah, 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 right? And so I then will take that. Some of it I'll have ChatGPT help me with, but a lot of it I will either pull from an old proposal that I did that was really similar, which as we get down here. So like these are the 5 wickets from their proposal that I chose that I could do for them. And then down here, I get a little bit more into it because they wanted specific examples of each contract or prior work that had been done. So let me find that. Again, all that I just scrolled through was really like the quality assurance stuff. Like, how are you going to do it? What is your, how are you going to deliver it? So this is where let me see if I can pull them up together.
So another quick question. So the quality assurance, did you pull that? Did you use ChatGPT? Is it existing?
No, I wrote that. I mostly wrote it based on see, they have all these points here.
Got it.
And so mine almost lines up the same thing, right? To their general terms and conditions, where I just kind of talk, and you saw none of them are long, right? It's 1 to 2 sentences, right? But I get through all the same things that they call out as important to them. And so where's the little chart thing, the little red chart? So this is where it asks specifically, well, it didn't say, but it said you have to include these things. Right here it is. So the business need, the project name, and then a brief 250-word project description. So I ended up doing each one like this because it said that it couldn't exceed 1 page. So I just bullet pointed it, and then I talked about what I did, right? So this was a training that I ran for a company in Virginia because, again, if you could have done work in that state, they like to see that you've already done work in that state, right? And so I just kind of broke down what I did, what was the scope of the work, and I bullet pointed it out versus paragraph, and then what were the outcomes of it. And so I kind of did that for each of them. So this one, I have a certification to do this LPI 360 thing. So I had done that for a different company. So I wrote about that a little bit. Then HRIS implementation. This is another one that there's a lot of proposals for right now. And this is the one that I'm pending an award for. One of them that I'm pending an award for. And so these I think are really cool because it is exactly a middleman, because all I'm doing is project managing someone else's software. And so this has been a lot of fun for me, but I kind of just, again, shortened it and bullet pointed it out, right, of the things that really matter. And then, so veteran and military spouse hiring is a big thing that I'm into. And so I have done that for a couple different places. So I wrote about it here. And then this wasn't called for, but they were like, hey, what else can you provide to us that isn't in this proposal, but aligned with the same services? So I stuck it in there, right? Executive placement and recruiting, because it's what I like to do. And I'm kind of good at it. So I put it in there, right? Maybe I'll get to place somebody, who knows? But that's pretty much what it is. So ChatGPT built me out the template, the outline. And then I really just kind of fill it in. This is the end, right? Because this is all now their forms. I can show you when I built it in Word. Here's the Word one. So when I built it in Word, again, this is just the regular table of contents. But in order to make sure that the pages line up all the way at the end, I put headings onto these blank pages so that on the table of contents, it still comes out to match up the right way. So this is all the required forms that they have. And then when I print it to PDF, I then just sub in each page that I'm required to at the end. So again, this one doesn't have pricing, but this is what a proposal that one looks like.
And this is beautiful too. I mean, at the end of the day, it's leveraging what you know, what you have, and leveraging technology. You didn't have to bring in some fancy graphic designer. You have all your information. And I also want to point out, you're in Melbourne, Florida. So you're in Melbourne, Florida, bidding and winning work, Virginia, Texas. So those watching, you don't have to just bid on work in your state. And it was also really savvy of you to include the past performance for Virginia, because it shows, you have a touch point with us. Mm-hmm. So this is beautiful. I love what you have here.
Thank you. So this one's pretty basic, because again, it doesn't go into pricing. And so with services, it's kind of, the pricing is always tricky, right? Because it's depending on what it is, you know? So Yeah, I don't have that knowledge base to delve into to share. But this anyway is what it looks like. If you do decide to start bidding in Virginia, I'll tell you that 90% of their proposals are mail. And so they require like 5 to 7 full copies of your proposal. And so I've literally in the last 2 weeks shipped out 4 boxes of full reams of paper proposals to the state of Virginia.
Whoa. So wait, hold on. Like I'm in shock. Okay. So do you print these at home? Do you use a FedEx, UPS? How do you manage all of that?
I have space at a co-working space. Okay. And so they have a printer that I'm able to use, which is just kind of included in my mail goes there. I can go and use the printer. And so that's what I do. Like you have to delineate when it's printed, they give really clear instructions, right? Of what it has to be. And so I'll put up here at the top, it'll say like original. I'll just put a little header here and print 1 original set. And that's where I attach all my original signature stuff. Then I'll come back to Word, edit this here to say copy. And then as I print it, I'll put the packets together and I'll title it like copy 1, copy 2, copy 3, copy 4. And then I paper clip it on alternating sides. Because again, like when it's 7 copies, like that's a lot of paper. If each proposal, let's just say it was this size, right? So this was 26 pages. It a lot of paper adds up really quick.
It really does.
And then you have to pay to get it there, right? So then you're paying like $20 or $30. So if you can do all of your things in-house, my logo is from Canva. I did it for free, right? This is stolen off the SBA site. They just send it to you once you get your designation. And then everything else is just Word and Adobe. So I try to keep what I spend on proposals as low as possible. Now, this proposal probably still took me like 2 or 3 days to put together. Not 2 or 3 8-hour days, but like I'd work on it a little bit and then I'd put it away and then I'd come back to it. And so I try to move through it in sections, which is why I have ChatGPT build me an outline, because that automatically sets up for me. And then I keep everything, ChatGPT moves it over and it's automatically bold in Word. So I just keep it bold. And as I do them, I unbold them. So it's easy for me to keep track of what I'm finished with and what I'm not finished with. So these are just little tricks as a one-man show. You know, I have 2 part-time employees that work with me, but just as a little one-person shop, this is what I'm doing. And again, I've churned out over 70 proposals in a year. So,
which is phenomenal. And you included resumes. How did you go about getting the resumes for this one?
So for this one, I didn't really have to. I kind of include mine. Now, I'm not really a big fan of like my actual like resume, like as if I was submitting to a job. So I instead, when like you come all the way down here it is. I have a profile for myself, right? And so this is just a summary, right, of kind of everything that I have done through my career. I have my education here. So I have my master's, my bachelor's, any of my professional trainings that apply, right? So the SHRM certifications that I hold, and then, you know, like I have the LPI 360 thing. I have a certificate from the University of South Florida. So really like anything that I have here that applies to the kind of work that I'm bidding on. And then I also think it's important to put the things that you volunteer in just because, right? I think it's important to people as they develop and grow, right? That's one of the reasons why when we were talking, Kizzy, right, I was like, I'll share what I have, right? Because I think that nobody should hoard all the knowledge, right? And that's why I just love the GovCon Winners group, because it's not about gatekeeping, right? It's more about like, there's room for everybody at the table. So even if this did have pricing, I still would have been happy to share it. But again, like I don't have a good one with pricing to be able to share right now. So
no, but this is beautiful, because the question is always asked, and because of the nature of this work, the pricing will come up when they decide to issue the purchase order. So it makes complete sense. And this isn't just unique to the state of Virginia. There are also federal contracts like that too, where even if you give them pricing, it doesn't mean that you won anything. It just, they know that's your pricing. Like a GSA schedule is a perfect example. That's the pricing. And if you win something on the schedule, you're going to base it on the pricing. So there's some similarities. And I also want to highlight, I love that you included your volunteer work. I think it just shows them that you're a human, and it shows them more about you, especially because of the nature of this work.
Right.
And so if you were bidding on like something with firefighters, I mean, of course, you would have a completely different tone to this. So I love that you tailored it specifically to this particular client.
So also the state of Virginia, every single state agency has a veteran hiring initiative, which is another reason that I highlighted out all of the involvement that I do have in the veteran community, because it already speaks to something that's a high priority for the state as a whole, right? So every state agency has a program for it, for hiring, for integrating veterans post-military career. So that's another reason I kind of stuck those things in there. It's just playing to your audience is really just what it is.
Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. And I'm just so grateful that you took the opportunity to share this, because you're in the Facebook group and I know a ton of people communicate with you. They ask for this, and I was like, well, let's make a video and we can post this online, and it'll reach way more people so that they can see, and it removes the veil. No one's hoarding information. They can see, oh, wow, like this is beyond doable. There's nothing in here, especially because you took the initiative to add the resume. There's nothing here where it's like, oh, I can't do this.
Right. Yep. It's true. So for 3 years, I worked for a much larger government contractor. And so when it comes to sourcing resumes and things like that, like there is an art to it. And I mean, like recruiting, again, is a big thing that I do. But just being aware, if you start to get into that field where you have to provide resumes, like I know you do this on like the bigger professional level, but when it's like one person, it can be really scary to think about like you're providing 3 resumes for people that you don't know, And so I think if you're going to provide the resumes for a person that you're pitching for it, I'd say it's really important to just make sure from an HR perspective, so that's literally what I do, is to make sure that you have a contingent offer signed by that person before you start pitching their resume, right? Just an HR best practice for you.
And it's easy to get that too.
The reality too is that so let's say that I was bidding something that you, Kizzy, were the perfect candidate for. The reality is I could be bidding you, but you could have contingent offer letters with 5 other people. So the same resume could literally be going forward. And then they're going to be like, well, then this just comes down to price. Because the same resume was given to us. There's clearly this is the person that can do the work in this area, right? So I think that it's important to know and understand that aspect of it too, because you could also have 5 contingent offers, one for $10, one for $25, one for $6, one for $45. It doesn't mean that the offers are all the same. It just could mean that you're smart and you want to sign with who's going to win the work. So you sign with everybody. One's got to hit. One's got to hit.
Right. And it's also helpful because you then have at least the framework of your team, because some things could happen and the person may say, oh, I've changed my mind, or I got a job, or what may have you. So it's great that you have the framework, you provide it to the agency so they see that you're legit. And I think it also is reinforcing to them, if everybody's providing the same resume, like, okay, you all are on the same path.
Yep, I think so. Because some of them are very specific, right? Some of the things are super specific. And I think on the federal level, one of the things I learned is that sometimes it's really specific for a reason. And it's because they want somebody specific, right? They want a certain person without writing the contract to say, we want Kizzy Parks only, right? But when that's the resume that comes in with every single proposal, it's pretty clear.
It is very clear. So now I love this. And so Katie, how can people get in contact with you? Because a lot of people are going to get in contact with you. They're going to hunt you down.
So I'm pretty easy to find. I'm all over LinkedIn. So Katie Garcia is my name. I'm on the Facebook group. I'm pretty active in there too. My company is KDG Support. So kdgsupport.com. You'll find me, and my email is not hidden. It's katie@kdgsupport.com.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough. And I want to remind people, pick up winnerswaybook.com. winnerswaybook.com. Don't forget to pick it up. Pick that up, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, follow all of this, because now you have a blueprint. You have a blueprint. And I'm just so grateful to you for your generosity, for your abundance mindset, for you sharing this, because so many people would never do this. And I am so grateful and indebted to you. You hopefully you already know, like, however I can be of help, you ping me and I'm here.
All right. And I have some cover letter and the page that's set up for the table of contents. I have those 2 pages, and I'm happy to share it with whoever you want. If anybody emails me and asks, I will send it to you. so you can see all of my things, right? You don't have to screenshot from the tiny little thing on the screen, right? I'm happy to just share those two things and just use the same format for yourself or whatever. But I'll also put out there that I bid this December 18th, and this one awarded January 26th. The other one that I'm awaiting an award on, I bid on November 28th, and it still hasn't. So also have patience, because they're not all fast. And most of the 70 that I've submitted, I haven't even ever heard back on. So,
well, I commend you because you keep going with the 70. You haven't given up. The fact that she's offering for free this information, free Contractor, she'll email you. Please take full advantage. There's literally so much abundance, so many opportunities, so many tools, techniques, strategies for you to find, bid, and win profitable contracts. So this is amazing.
So get after it. Everybody.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. And as always, don't forget, everything is possible.